Eddie, thanks for joining us. Obviously, it started for Scott Quigg topping the bill. Big night for Quigg.
Yeah, big fight. You know, I mean, obviously Salinas was a really tough fight. He had a little bit of a voluntary gimme against Silva, and now he's banging a mandatory against the #1 challenger. So Maino, you look at the quality of the fighters he's boxed. Had a really tight decision loss against Marino. Beat Christian Mijares twice, who's fighting Santa Cruz this weekend. Drew with Salinas, who's a great fighter. So this is a really tough fight for Scott Quigg, and you know, one he's looking forward to.
You said up there that it's going to be his toughest fight of his career. Joe said that you nicked that off him. You know, he told you.
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe thinks I nick all my lines off him. Yeah. But I think that generally, when you look at who he's fought, I mean, I rate Salinas very highly. This guy Drew with Salinas, and I think he's got more experience than Salinas. He's beat better opposition than Salinas. So I would say it's the toughest fight of his career, and probably the last one before he moves on to the unification fights and stuff like that. So a very important night for Scott Quigg.
How important is the age gap between the two?
Yeah, I think that's always important. But you know, what comes with age is also experience and, you know, ring craft. And again, he's boxed a lot of top quality opposition. So I think he's been in with much better fighters than Scott Quigg. But yes, Scott is young and very fresh and very hungry.
We did a podcast with Scott on Friday, and he said he's come on leaps and bounds since he's joined you at Matchroom. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was good at, I mean, he's sort of put in the forefront in some big shows. I mean, obviously he was supposed to box on the Hay Fury card and ended up headlining at the O2. You know, then he boxed on the Frotch Groves card in front of 20,000, and now he'd be out again at the Phones Fury headlining. So there's a lot of pressure on Scott Quigg, and obviously with Burns losing to Crawford at the weekend, only 3 world champions left in Britain at the moment. So he's got a flag to carry there. But I just think Scott's a brilliant fighter, and he's so young as well. People forget that as well. You know, and Manchester's going to get behind him, and this is going to be a special night.
So Manchester there, Anthony Crolla and John Murray obviously announced earlier today. How big a fight is that?
It's a massive fight, and I'm so pleased to make it, because all these fights, these big domestic fights, and I said at the start of the year, this is my aim for the year, is keep making the big domestic fights. That's what sells, that's what people are interested in. And ultimately, you know, Crolla against Murray is such a great fight, because it is a 50-50 fight. Some people think Murray will win, some people think Crolla will win. They're from the same city. One's a blue, one's a red. They know each other, used to spar together, used to have the same trainer. You know, and obviously they don't like each other, what you could see there. But I just think it's a great fight. And, you know, like I said, things happen for a reason. And Crolla got cut. Murray goes in and fights Simpson, looks good. Sky ramp it up, people start talking. The fight gets made, and that's going to be a huge fight for Manchester.
What is it about British boxing at the minute? It's absolutely red hot.
Well, it's me, isn't it?
It's obviously you.
I just think that, you know, what I'm trying to do is I'm listening to the broadcast, and of course listening to the fans. Don't want to sound cheesy, but you've got, you know, my job is to deliver for the broadcaster and the fans, but ultimately the broadcaster are the people that line my pockets and line the pockets of the fighters. So. And they're becoming a lot more demanding. The problem is that boxing was so bad and so one-sided. I'm not saying that every single fight is going to be a 50-50, because that's not possible. And different fighters are at different stages in their career where they can't have 50-50s on certain nights because they've got a title fight coming up, or, you know, whatever. But you would need to have a big percentage of, I know 50-50, even 60-40 fights, or even 70-30. I mean, look at Curtis Woodhouse against Darren Hamilton. That was probably a 70-30, 60-40 fight. Ended up being total 50-50. So sometimes, as long as a fighter's got a chance in a fight, it's good to see, you know, and it's good to watch. But ultimately, we're under more pressure than ever from the fans and the broadcaster to deliver bigger fights, and that's what we're trying to do, because we're on the crest of a wave making big fights. So just keep making them and keep, you know. And you know that when you make a big fight, it's going to sell. So there's no danger. And if the fighter's good enough, they'll be okay. If they're not, it's not a problem. You lose and you go again. Don't worry about losing. You can come. I mean, you've seen even Anthony Crolla. Look at Anthony Crolla, lost to Derry Matthews, come back, fought him again, fought Gavin Rees, fought Stephen Foster. You know, now he's in a big fight with John Murray. The loss against Derry meant nothing to his career. It didn't change anything. You know, even Ricky Burns. All right, he lost against Crawford, world-class fight. He'd be back in a big fight in June. Boom, you go again. Kevin Mitchell lost to Burns. Boom, he's, you know, free. So Tommy Coyle got knocked out by Derry Matthews. Now he's in a better position than Derry Matthews, you know, in the space of 6-7 months. So don't worry about losing, and if you're good enough, you won't lose anyway. A
loss can help build your career because it helps you wrong the right, the wrongs that
you learn from a loss. But ultimately, if you're good enough, you won't lose anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I just think you've got to roll with it. And you know, fights like Conor Murray, big payday for both fighters. And ultimately, it's a springboard to maybe Burns or even maybe a direct world title shot. So you've got to take these chances.
While we're on about domestic fights, I can't let you go without talking about Froch Groves announced yesterday. What was the tipping point in securing Wembley?
Wembley was my first choice, you know, from the get-go. The problem was the England game the night before, and it took a long time to logistically set up everything between Wembley, the FA and Sky to make sure that it was bulletproof for the fight. Now it is. We were very close to Emirates. You know, we looked at Manchester. This played a little bit of a part because I didn't really want a show in Manchester in May, and you know, we've got this show in April as well. So, but obviously the first fight was in Manchester. We looked at Millennium Stadium, we looked at City Ground, but Wembley for me, it's a national stadium, steeped in history through the old stadium. You know, Henry Cooper against Muhammad Ali, Bruno McCall, and so many big fights. But ultimately, you know, it's the biggest venue possible. And as soon as I walked out the tunnel and they first showed it to me, I said, this is where it's got to be. And to secure it is a massive coup. And I'm pleased with both fighters as well, because how often you're going to get a chance to box at Wembley Stadium? You know, we go on sale on Monday at 12 o'clock and see how we get on.
The outcome of this fight, obviously unpredictable. We saw it the last one, nobody thought George had put Carl down in the first. Has George Groves missed his chance in not beating Carl Froch in Manchester in November?
Maybe, and you know, George will say that I was going to beat Carl Froch. I don't believe that. I believe that Carl Froch was coming back into the fight. But you know, I think that Carl Froch boxes better when he's scared. Might not be the right word, but you know, when he's concerned. When he boxed Buto, when he boxed Kessler, he was on edge. He was scared about the fight, or you know. And I think that now he's very aware of George Groves. He's got his attention. He knows he can punch. And I think in the first fight, he just thought he was going to walk through him.
You underestimated him.
Yeah, and I think now you're going to get a much more focused Carl Froch. But you're going to get a Carl Froch who's had another tough fight. So again, the age gap, is that going to be different? Is Groves going to be better? But I think ultimately, Groves was very good in the first fight and Carl Froch was very poor. We don't know the reasons for that. But I think that Froch will set a quicker pace, and I think he'll look to do a job on him. But I mean, you just can't beat him, and that's what makes the fight so big.
Is there a chance we could see Scott Quigg on the undercard?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm going to try and get 2 world title fights on that bill. So see how he gets on against Marino. It's only 6 weeks after, so it's not ideal. But you know, he's a fit boy. And if he does a job on Marino, then I think we could get him out potentially on that.
Fantastic, Eddie. Thank you very much for joining us.
No problem.